He's Chase Sr. I'm Harrison Graham. Any given Thursday, rolling along here to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. And we're going to start with a player that, well, he's polarizing, if nothing else, Chase. Russell Westbrook. Trade rumors continue to circulate. Sam Amick had the report that earlier in the season, they had covert interest in trying to ship him out. Didn't happen. Not enough interest materialized. Seems unlikely now, but I think the moral of the story here, Chase, is there seems to be some regret from LA's side of things to go out and acquire this guy in the first place.
Well, they saw the immediate results, or lack thereof, for Russell Westbrook. They saw that his style of play wasn't conducive to winning, and they were already trying to move him, according to Sam Amick, who's really plugged into a lot of organizations early in the year. So that goes to show you they already had regrets about making that trade. Look, everybody gets obsessed with the numbers that Russell Westbrook puts up. The eye test tells you that this guy just isn't a winning player. So that's really the problem for Los Angeles, and he's an already clunky player on a clunky roster fit for LA.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Here's what Amick had to say. Yes, Westbrook snapped his league-long streak of 407 consecutive games with at least one turnover in Tuesday night's win over Sacramento, and even registered a plus 17, though he missed 12 of 19 shots. And yes, the Lakers have won 4 of their last 5 games, but it's James's greatness and the emergence of minimum salary addition Malik Monk, who has been great since he became a starter 5 games ago, that has kept them afloat without Anthony Davis. All of which explains why sources say the Lakers showed some covert interest in discussing a possible Westbrook trade with rival executives earlier this season. A deal appears extremely unlikely before the February 15th. Did I say the 10th, 15th, 10th? Whatever.
It's the 10th.
It's the 10th. Yeah. Amick mistyped it. What do you want me to say? If only because this deal was once seen by so many untradeable is such a massive obstacle. But inside the Lakers, it seems there is some recognition that this hasn't gone as James and Davis had planned. See, this is why, and look, LeBron James deserves a lot of credit for who he is and recognizing talent, but this is why you can't put your player in charge of player personnel. I think that was a James move to bring in Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
And, you got to take it out of LeBron's hands. I'm not saying he shouldn't have input at all, but we all saw this coming.
Right.
You can't mesh Russ with LeBron and AD. He wants to be the best player on the team. He's not going to be that on a winning team. So now he's trying to play this third fiddle role, and it's not working, which was very predictable when it happened 5 months ago.
And with this, the Lakers are trying to cover up mistakes that they've made over the last year and change. They didn't trade for Kyle Lowry at the NBA trade deadline last year. It looked as though they were going to trade for Buddy Hield. Instead, at the last second, they pivot and they trade for Russell Westbrook instead of Buddy Hield, who would have been a much better fit because you look at the roster right now, they are bereft of shooting. And I already know some people are going to be in the comment section popping off saying, Chase, you're just a Russell Westbrook hater. No, to all of you chirping, I am a Russell Westbrook realist. I always keep it real here. I give him credit when credit is due, but the fact that he doesn't turn the basketball over for the first time in more than 400 games is the ultimate Russell Westbrook problem. The style of play is maddening. It's frustrating. It doesn't translate to wins, and it never has for Russell Westbrook. So while he's an exciting video game-like player, he's also not a winning player, and those are just the facts.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And by the way, everybody, turnover-free Russ, where are the haters at? Yeah, he also only had 2 assists, so it's not like he went 10 assists, no turnovers. So it's all very fascinating. Deal Russell Westbrook before the deadline. What do you think? Type Y for yes, type in for no. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. You guys can reply right there. Okay, you look at the numbers, and again, it's never been a numbers problem, although the assist-to-turnover ratio continues to not be great. Less than a 2-to-1 ratio for what's supposed to be an all-star caliber point guard. But again, he's it's disappointing what he's done. He's made the triple-double kind of irrelevant in a lot of cases, which, that was a huge stat, and I still think it's a cool stat.
Jason Harrison, he has the record over Oscar Robertson. Who cares?
Yeah, who would you rather have, Oscar
I don't
or
need
Russ?
my guard rebounding the basketball.
Yeah,
I just don't.
Also, no one in their right minds thinks Russ is a better player than Oscar Robertson. Yeah. So that's pretty irrelevant. And look, the shooting, okay, the field goal percentage is fine. He's been fine there. He's taken less shots, which is something we talked about. He needs to take a lesser role. That's good, but he's still not doing enough to help this team send them over the top. If you undid that trade, I'm pretty sure, and just had the same role players, I think you'd have a better record.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
I also think there's this. If Russell Westbrook was playing in the early 2000s, he'd be marvelous, and people would be fawning over this guy. But a player like him, a player like my beloved favorite player of all time, Allen Iverson, would they be as effective in today's NBA as they were or could have been in prior years? I think the answer to that question is no, because the efficiency hasn't been there for Russ, wasn't there for AI, and the NBA is all about efficiency nowadays.
And the thing about Russ, too, is much of an athletic freak as he is, there's so many good athletes now, it's like it's not that much of a game changer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're like every
Derrick
team,
Rose in his prime, better player than Russell Westbrook.
Every team has athletic freaks now.
Yeah.
So it's just, it was a bad trade. There's no doubt about it. Confidence level in the Lakers if they don't trade him. In terms of winning a championship, I'm going to go like a 2.5, dude. I don't think this team wins a title the way it's currently constructed.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm going 2-3, and the only reason why
you got LeBron.
I'm at that level, LeBron James is playing like an MVP. Speaking of MVPs, this jacket is the real MVP, and we told you about it earlier on the week on the Lakers Report. Even better deal now. Was $110, Mitchell and Ness, now down to a little less than $83. You can get that deal only if you use that link down below, chatsports.com/Lakers jacket. I'm going to put that link in the comment section as well as the description of this video.
So while a Russell Westbrook trade seems unlikely, is some sort of a trade coming? Brian and Windhorst of ESPN.com saying that the Lakers looking to create more roster spots, and DeAndre Jordan, Kent Bazemore have been two players mentioned. Jordan, Chase, because LeBron during this stretch without AD has actually been playing the 5. So they've kind of gone to this smaller lineup. So even when AD comes back, he's going to play the 5 presumably, which means you don't really need DeAndre Jordan. Kent Bazemore, if they want to clear him out, for just to clear that spot, that could be an option as well. We already saw Rajon Rondo get shipped out, so the Lakers may be looking to make moves to try and clear up some roster spots in the coming weeks.
The other problem, too, with the whole roster construction for Los Angeles, because they're built to win right now and they're so top-heavy in terms of the salary cap, they don't have many tradable assets that are affordable contracts or player assets who other teams want in order for them to upgrade their roster. Who wants DeAndre Jordan, man? I wouldn't touch him. I think he's washed at this point. When he's played for Los Angeles, he's been pretty bad. And then other than that, the biggest trade asset you have on this team is an underperforming THT who's been a little bit better as compared to what he was earlier on in the year.
Yeah, and listen, that goes back again to last year. I mean, they were like, they're banking on THT's future. That's why they didn't trade for Kyle Lowry, and it's not like he's taken off. Kent Bazemore's just a guy at this point. I mean, these splits are brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, under 35% from the field and from 3, an okay defender, but when you shoot like that, you're not going to find minutes consistently.
He should get 10 minutes per game, and that's about it.
I mean, if that, man.
Yeah.
It's just like he's just like kind of a roster fill guy. He's like Jared Dudley now. I mean, he's a vet, but that's really all he brings to the table. Keep one of them. I mean, DJ, KB, I mean, I'd probably keep Bazemore because at least he's got some positional versatility, but
this is bleak, man.
If you're playing either of these guys real minutes, I mean, that's problematic.
Yeah, that's pretty bleak right there. Pick one to keep. DeAndre Jordan, Kent Bazemore. This roster would be good several years ago.
Type in for neither.
It ain't now. Yeah.
Man. Subscribe to the channel. We're not trying to be Debbie Downers. We're just keeping it real here on the Lakers Report. That's what we do. YouTube.com/LakersTV. We'll continue to have you guys covered leading up to the trade deadline. How about a positive? I like how this has trended. Stanley Johnson getting a second 10-day with L.A. And listen, a lot of people thought his career was done, but he's always had good defensive potential and some upside offensively. I thought he played pretty well the first 10-day. Maybe you clear out one of those spots and you keep Stanley for the rest of the season.
Yeah, when you watch the Lakers, they just look old. They look slow. They look stagnant on both ends of the floor. So when a player comes on the floor, like an Austin Reeves, a Stanley Johnson, a THT, and they have that injection of energy, you're like, wow, they're kind of popping off the screen a little bit. And I think that's what Stanley Johnson was able to bring to the table. Look, is it going to be a long-term fit for Los Angeles? Maybe not, but these numbers are actually pretty good, and he was very active. And sometimes throughout the course of a sluggish 82-game regular season, you need Energizer bunnies coming off the bench like a Stanley Johnson. And for him to prove himself like he did, a guy who looked like a bust and might be able to resurrect his career as a journeyman, good job by him, for real.
And it's why I've liked the move of Malik Monk to the starting lineup, because this team just needs youth and energy right now.
Yeah.
And I think Johnson's a guy that could come off the bench and give you 12 to 15 minutes per game. How about Kendrick Nunn? Can he have a big role when he returns? I think this was one of the signings you and I like quite a bit, because he was one of the rare younger signings who had a couple of really nice years with Miami. Frank Vogel saying he'll get a ton of minutes when he comes back. Maybe he can help bring you some more youth and some more upside to this lineup. Here's what Vogel had to say on what his role could look like. Quote, "Yeah, I have an idea, but it still really is all to be played out. Kendrick's going to get a ton of minutes when he gets back healthy. It's going to be at the expense of somebody else, maybe Russell Westbrook, at least for the time being, to see how he fits into our system alongside our stars, and all of that stuff will play out." Chase, I like the idea of getting Kendrick Nunn in there, because he's a walking bucket, man. I mean, he can go off for 30 on any given night.
Yeah, what did I just say? Like, the offense and defense, but we're talking about the offense in this regard, can just get stagnant. And a player like Kendrick Nunn can kind of get rid of some of that stagnation, if you will. And throughout his career with Miami, I understand the Heat have been a player development factory. They're doing it again this year. I mean, they have just random-ass players going off any given night.